Speaking with Todd Ross this morning on JustStocks from Nordic Nickel. Todd, morning.
Morning, Andrew. How are you?
Yeah, good, Todd. Good to see you. Look, news from you yesterday on the Pulju project, a massive increase here to the resource at the Hotinvaara. This is one of the prospects within the project. Just tell us a bit more about the new numbers.
Yeah, so it's exciting news. This is a culmination of basically the last 12 months worth of work that we've been doing at the Hotinvaara exploration license area. We had a maiden resource out at Hotinvaara based on historical drilling that had been done by Outokumpu before we took over the project. And that was for 133 million tonnes, but we've just now released the updated resource, which is for 416 million tonnes. So massive increase, and that's based on another 15,500 metres of drilling that we've done at Hotinvaara last year. Importantly, that contains now 860,000 tonnes of nickel, 40,000 tonnes of cobalt, and around 22,000 tonnes of copper. It's a massive area. It's an in-situ resource, so it's basically like for like on the maiden resource that we put out. But it's really just to demonstrate how rich this system is and how much nickel there was contained in it when it was originally formed. And we're only just getting started. I mean, this license area is only 2% of our total land holding.
Well, look, I was going to say, how does this resource here fit with your previously published exploration target?
Yeah, it's actually bigger than the previous exploration target. I think we had 300 and something million tonnes as the exploration target previously. And you can probably see on the announcement we put out where we've drilled, we're touching into this magnetic anomaly at the Hotinvaara license area, and we haven't tested all of that yet. So even within Hotinvaara, a few more holes, we could probably look at increasing even more. But for now, I think it's a really good line in the sand just to demonstrate how much material and mineralization there actually is in this system, and now we're looking at other programs across the belt as well.
Well, have you done some studies in terms of test work and recoveries? Yeah,
so that's underway at the moment. So the initial metallurgical test work that we did was based on a couple of samples that we did end of 2022. And importantly, that was really just to see how much of that nickel is contained in sulphides, which is really important from a recovery perspective and processing perspective. And when we did that initial work, that was demonstrating that between 83 and 94% of the nickel was contained in sulphides, which is very, very high. It also was it was coarse grain size, so it would be easily floated. We could, relatively low amount of grinding required. And low in deleterious elements, low in arsenic and things like that. So now what's important is getting all the full met test work done across that new drilling and some of the historical drilling as well. All of that's underway, and we're hoping to have the results for that probably mid this year.
Would you be looking to do further drilling?
At Hotinvaara at this stage, we're probably just going to pause. I think what's important is we've got 79 holes already drilled at Hotinvaara, 25,000 metres of drilling done. What we want to do now is really work out what do we have here? What are we dealing with? We know it's a big system. We know that a large proportion of that resource sits within 250 metres from surface, so very shallow. Depending on what the met test shows, it could produce a pretty high concentrate. And really what the strategy is still about targeting high grade massive sulphides. So the next step for us is really undertaking or completing the full geological model interpretation, as well as the structural interpretation, which will give us some more targets to test along with those EM conductors that we were testing last year.
Tell us, Todd, a little bit about some of the demands you're seeing from the growing battery material supply chain over in Europe.
Yeah, and look, I'm here in Europe at the moment. It's definitely a lot of momentum building. It's taken a while. I mean, the EU's got obviously 27 countries to coordinate, which is a little bit harder than, like the US, where they had the IRA put out a couple of years ago now. But there's definitely momentum building here. The automakers in Europe see massive demand coming. There's commitments in Europe around building gigafactories everywhere. Around 20% of all those gigafactories are being built in the Nordic region. So EU is well and truly positioning itself to become the second largest battery cell manufacturer out of China. they recognise now, which has taken a while, that there's a big gap about securing the supply. So where are all the raw materials going to come from? When you look at the nickel, from the nickel perspective, there's only 2 nickel mines in the whole of Europe. They're both in Finland, and they're both around similar grades to what our resource is that we've just released. So we think we're very well placed to be able to take advantage of that when the market starts to recover. And
in terms of market interest, you're off to Stockholm shortly for a couple of conferences. Just tell us a little bit about these.
Yeah, so it's Benchmark Minerals. They've got a conference called the Giga Europe Conference, and essentially that's a conference with all of the major players in the battery cell manufacturing space, along with some of the automobile manufacturers, OEMs. So it's a great opportunity for us to showcase our projects, especially now that we've released this resource. We can talk about how big this project actually is and the scale that's going to be exciting for these OEMs in particular. So it's an opportunity for us to get out there and meet some of the big industry players.
I suppose, given the size, the scale of the resource, do you feel your market cap matches the opportunity?
I'd have to say absolutely not. I mean, I think we've got huge growth potential here. Where our EVs, I think, trading today at about $18-19 million. Where it's not far off where we were when we listed in 2022. And since then we've tripled the size of the resource. We've demonstrated the whole system is potentially 35 kilometres of prospective strike. We've got 240 square kilometre land package. We're right on the doorstep to Europe as its growing demand is kicking off. I think we're well and truly undervalued at the moment.
Good to speak, Todd. Thanks for your time.
Thanks, Andrew. Good to see you.